and we'll get started. So my name is Abigail. I am based out of Jacksonville, Florida. I am in Eastern time. So I do apologize if I mess up my time zone stuff and I start saying this afternoon, because for me it's noon. Um, but just kind of bear with me with that. I do have my email and my phone number here for you guys. If you want to write down my phone number in case you get disconnected, that's fine by me. I know here in the South, sometimes there are storms and they knock out people's power. And so, if something happens where you lose power or you lose internet, you can always give me a call. And I'll also drop that in the chat for you here. All right. And that's my phone number. I will be sending you guys a post-training email at the end of the week with my PowerPoint as well as any other relevant information for you guys. So don't feel like you have to take a ton of notes. You will be getting this PowerPoint. While we're working in Zoom today, since there is quite a few people, I would like it if you could be on mute unless you needed to talk. That way, if there's background noise in your office or things like that, it is not overpowering the microphone. You're more than welcome to mute and unmute to talk as we go, or use the chat. I'm comfortable with both. I always have it open on my other screen with the chat, so I do make sure to look at that. I also like to use the reactions tab. So there's this little guy. Ooh, he's a smiley face. And if you click on it, you can use the reactions. So if I have, if I ask if I have, excuse me, if I ask if anyone has any questions and everyone's good, just give me that thumbs up. It's a good indicator for me if you have retained the information or if you don't have questions. Thanks, Dirk, for showing that off with the thumbs up. Since I can't see you guys physically, we're not in a room together, it just helps me know whether or not you're lost or you're okay to move on when there's silence. So this morning, we're going to be talking about User Basics Part 1. We're going to cover User Basics Part 1 today, and then there's a second session this afternoon for anybody who missed this morning. And then on Thursday, we'll be covering User Basics Part 2. And again, there will be a morning and an afternoon session. It will be the same material. So whichever one you're able to attend would be great. User Basics Part 1 focuses on the main site, getting logged in and navigating around it, as well as adding pages and adding content to those pages. User Basics Part 2 for Thursday covers things like very specific modules. For example, adding calendar events, updating your frequently asked questions list, updating your staff directory, adding news to your news flash on your homepage, things like that. And you guys should have the lists of the topics all in those calendar invites. So starting with User Basics Part 1, I recommend that if you're going to be following along with me, that you use Google Chrome as your browser. I will be using Chrome, and so if you're going to follow along and make your own practice pages, please use Chrome so that it matches what you're seeing with my screen. I also want to let you know that if you have a Mac, Safari does have trouble with all of the functionality of editing the site. It works fine for people who are looking at the website, but when you're editing the website, Safari really does not work very good. So I try to stick to Chrome, Firefox, or Microsoft Edge. And then the last kind of housekeeping item is tablets and mobile devices don't work well when editing the site. So when you are making changes, I always recommend a laptop or desktop computer because tablets and phones can just be too small. to actually use the widgets that you put on pages. All right, so with that being said, let's check out the site. So we are going to log in. I like to use your website /admin to get right to my login page. And when you do log in, it should take you to your dashboard, which will look kind of like this. So if you guys can let me know when you get to your dashboard, either by unmuting, typing in the chat, or giving me a thumbs up with the reactions, that would be helpful. Thank you, Dirk. Thank you, Laura.
This is Marlene. I'm a little not sure where I'm supposed to be at. I'm on our web page, but I don't
Okay.
see what you're seeing.
So we are logging in. Do you know your login information?
Yes. Yep. I'm all
Okay.
logged in. I'm just not seeing the same page you are.
Oh, what are you seeing?
Our website. So am I not in the right place?
Do you see at the top a button that says dashboard?
Yes.
Click that and it should bring you back to where we are.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
No problem. All right. Marlene, did that work for you?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Jean and Jody, were you guys able to get in?
I was, yes.
Okay, cool. I may have missed if you gave me a thumbs up.
This is Peggy. Did
Yes.
you want us to sign in as admin or just under our own account?
On your account. So when you type
okay.
in
Yes.
/admin, it just takes you to the login page instead of you having to go to your website and then click the button that says website sign in the upper right hand corner. This is kind of a fast way to get there.
Got it.
Barbara, yes, are you logged in on Google Chrome or are you on a different browser? Oh, no microphone. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, are you seeing the same page we are? Yes? Okay, perfect. As long as you're seeing the same page we are, you are good to go. All right, so I think everybody is logged in.
Except for me. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Jane.
Dirk, can you unlock my password? Because apparently I don't remember it. It's been a while. And I've locked myself out. Thank you.
Oh no. Do you have the capability to do that? To unlock it? Are you locked out of the website?
Yeah, Dirk can reset my password for me.
Can I? I'm not sure I've done that before, but
Oh,
So from my
okay.
understanding, because we moved to single sign-on, there is no password reset except by yourself to do it. And just to make sure, I'm going to make sure you're on the right platform. There is an older platform that did allow for that. I can check by seeing what color it is. So let's see. Yeah, so you see that it's red here. The button is red
Yep,
on continue.
I just figured out that I could reset it.
If you type, if you type in your email, there's a forgot password button. Okay, cool.
Thank you. I'm just a little behind, but that's okay.
Yeah, no problem. So previously, last summer, actually, up until last summer, we had an older system and you could have somebody like Dirk reset your password for you, but now we use single sign-on, and just by nature of security for single sign-on, it doesn't let someone else change your password anymore. So, new security feature. All right. So, all right. And you just let us know. Sometimes when you hit the forgot password, it sends it to your spam.
And you can go ahead and keep going,
Okay.
Abigail. I'm good. I am pretty familiar with the system, so
Okay.
just go ahead and keep going. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. I always just, have time built in for these kind of things because it does happen where there's like a brand new hire and they're not even in the system yet, or someone forgets their password. So I had no problem, we'll still make it on time. That's what I'm getting at. All right. So this is your dashboard. And how many of you guys are already kind of familiar with your dashboard here? By a show of thumbs would be good. Okay. So like half. All right. So about half. So I will kind of go over it. For some of you, it might be a review. But I just kind of like to emphasize the important parts of your dashboard. When you log in to your website, your dashboard here is where you can find the information right when you log in. We have two main parts. We have what I refer to as the inboxes of your dashboard, and then we have our frequently used section. To be honest, I don't use the frequently used section, but it exists. And that allows you to click on one of these icons and it will take you over to that area of your website. So for example, if I needed to add a calendar event, I could click on calendar and it would take me right over to the calendar. There is advertisements. Let me turn on my laser pointer here. There we go. There's advertisements right above that. And if you see them and you don't want to see those, you can always hide those with the gold tab on the upper right-hand corner. Now, what I find to be very important on your dashboard, other than, of course, making sure you're logged in as yourself and you're on the right town, is your inboxes. So in my inboxes, the first thing that I have is a recent activity section. This lets me know what has last happened on the site, and I can see up to the last 25 actions. You can also hit the show mine, and that's going to show you just things that you did. So if, for example, I'm seeing my stuff and I realize I need to go back to that, I can quickly from this dashboard. What I mean by that is you see that there is this icon that is a square with a pencil through it. That square with a pencil through it indicates that you can go back and modify that information quickly. So say I wanted to go back to my training picture folder in the document center, I can click on that square with the pencil through it, and that is going to take me directly back to that folder. And in this case, it takes me to the folder so I can rename it. After recent activity, you have a section that says pending approval and declined items. Now, this is something that is typically for what are called authors on your website. And it looks like you may have not been using it in the past year or so. But the idea is that some people require approval before their work goes live on the site. If it does, their work will show up in your pending approval inbox. And if you have permission, you would be able to approve, decline, or modify that information. If it gets declined, you could write a message to the person that will get emailed to them, and then it will live in declined items. To kind of expand on that, let me review the different types of permissions and roles. There are 4 roles on the website. The highest role and the people that have full access to everything are called system administrators. And from what I saw in this group, we have two, Jody and Dirk. Is that correct?
I think that's right.
Okay. They have access to everything on the site, and they have access to change, what they need as seen fit. Right below system administrators, you have this group called owners. Owners can add and delete things, but only within their authorized area. So say you're an owner in your department, you would have access to all of your department content, and you would be able to add and delete pages. You would be able to add and remove, events related to your department, etc. But if you don't have authorized space to another group, you're not going to be able to make those changes there. So say you're just restricted to like finance related pages and content, you'd be restricted there and you wouldn't be able to go and work, say, like on pages related to, fire or safety or things like that. Below owners, oh, yes, Marlene.
So how do you know where you're at in the system as far as owner and what your permissions are within it? Is there some place to check?
So typically that is information that when you get signed up, somebody should have let you know, but they can check for you. So any of your system admins can go into this thing called user administration. And when they do, so for example, I'll use yours. I just got to scroll down. Okay. They can click on your name and see what kind of permissions they gave you. So you have access to departments, info advanced planning, and public works information. As to the level, typically we ask people to set these up and write what level it is. So public works owners or public works authors. Since it doesn't have that, it's a little more difficult for me to figure it out myself, but your system admins should know.
Thank you.
Yeah. Dirk, do you have any more insight on that?
That was set up years ago and it's just kind of been that way.
Okay. I'm gonna double check something. And see if I can figure it out. Public Works, for example. Yeah, it looks like owner level access. And then publisher level access on pages. So it looks like they did something a little bit different, which is on pages, you have the permission level called publisher, which means you can create, edit, and publish content, but you can't delete pages or move things around in the sitemap. So you can't like rearrange the whole website, but you do have the ability to add content, remove content, or add additional pages as needed. And then it looks like you have owner level everywhere else, which means like you can add and delete documents, you can add and delete frequently asked questions, etc. All right. Any other questions regarding that? Okay. The lowest level of permissions is called authors. So owners can do add, delete. Publishers can add, but they can't delete. And then authors require their work for approval. Now, there are some places by default that are going to require approval if you're not an owner or a system administrator. And you will know if you're an author level in that area because instead of a save and publish button, you'll have a save and submit. So if you see save and submit, you have author level permissions there, and somebody like a system admin needs to approve your work. And so that's why we see when we are on your dashboard that pending approval and declined items section. And within that section, you have something sitting in the pending approval, but it looks like they're pretty old. All right. Any questions about anything we've covered so far? Okay. After pending approval and declined items, the next section says expiring items. So one of the things about the site is most items on your site, pages, content, forms, documents, etc., can be set to have an end date. 2 weeks prior to that end date, it will live in expiring items and give you an opportunity to extend the date or leave it be. So for example, let's say you have a document related to an upcoming event. Maybe you're having some sort of celebration for, let's say right now, it'll probably be like a back to school thing. Or maybe you're doing some sort of fall festival type thing. Maybe you've got an info sheet on your site and you're not going to need it again after the event has happened. You can set it to expire after the event. Once 2 weeks prior to it expiring, it will live here. And then once it expires, it doesn't delete. It just unpublishes from the public view, and you can always republish it again in the future. Any questions on expiring items? All right. Then we have Civic Plus messages and buy messages. Civic Plus messages, I would say we send out a message maybe like once a quarter about product updates. So you will want to check those if you get a message here, because it's going to let you know when there's been some sort of enhancement or improvement to your website. And like I said, you're not going to get bombarded with these. They happen maybe like once a quarter. And then my messages is to message each other. It was an idea, but we found most people don't like it because then you have another inbox you have to look at. So we kind of just say, don't bother. Just message each other how you normally would, so you don't create another thing you have to check. Right? And those are your inboxes. At the bottom of your dashboard, you're going to see 3 links that take you to different areas of our help center. One with our webinar archives, so the recordings. One with training resources. And then Civic Plus support if you needed to submit a ticket. You can also access help through the chat bot at the bottom or with the help on your top bar. If you forget everything that we talk about this week, remember one thing, and that is that there's a help center. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. This is our help center, and I think it's actually a really great help center. I'm not saying that because I work here. I'm saying it because I really do think that. You have a couple different ways to access information. So at the top, you'll notice you can access our webinars and contact support. And then in the main body of our help center, we have little cards based on different content that's available for your website, or you can search with the search bar. So let's say, for example, I wanted to add news. I could just type news or news flash. And it should pull up. Add news. There we go. Forgot to write the word add. So add news, and then you'll see it'll give me anything similar to what I wrote there. So add a news flash item. And now I have access to a tutorial on how to do that. The first thing you're going to notice is when it was last updated. And then you'll see who can use the feature. So this can be really helpful to let you know, do you have access to it? So if it just has the lock for system admin, you most likely can't do it. And you'd need to ask a system admin too. Well, for most of you in here, you wouldn't be able to because you're not system admin. Otherwise, as long as you see some of these other guys in here, owner, publisher, author, you probably have those permissions. Once that's determined that you do have the capability, there is a tutorial that you actually click through to complete the steps in the activity. You could also watch it and watch someone else go through the steps, scroll through it like a PowerPoint, or my personal favorite, look at screenshots with descriptions above them. And so I feel like this is super helpful, especially after you've gone through training. Sometimes I feel like people who haven't gone through training look at the help center and it's kind of a 50-50 split of whether or not it's helpful to them. So I do find that for some people, once they've gone through training once, this help center makes a lot more sense. The other thing I like about this is the supporting articles over on the left that tells me other things that are related to adding a newsflash item. So I've got like allowing subscribers, I've got copying it, changing the text, deleting one, all these beautiful related articles that go with news flashes. Now, let's say this is not helpful, you can't figure it out, you can always reach out to me, or if it seems like it's a real problem, you can contact support. And that's in the upper right-hand corner. And we have a ticket that you can fill out or you can call. So if you submit the ticket, I very much recommend that if you fill this out to provide a screenshot of what's wrong. A picture's worth 1,000 words in this case, and if you have a screenshot of what's happening with your system and what's wrong, there I have a better shot of being able to figure out how to fix it for you. If you decide to call, our number for support is 888-228-2233. I'm going to put that in the chat. Oh, the select mode option. I'm so sorry, Dirk. I will go back to that right after this. So I'm going to drop the IT support line in the chat. And if you do call, our hours are in Central Time. So for you guys, that's 5 a.m. to 5 p.m., I believe, rather than 7 to 7. I have to go backwards. So did I do that right? Right. So from here, just want to circle back to Dirk's question about the select mode option in here. So previously when I was on the add a newsflash item and I was looking at the tutorial, there is an option in the lower left corner that says current mode is try it. And if I click on that, I should have 4 options. It looks like a little rectangle. Okay, awesome. Sorry about that. I didn't really specify where it was. All right. Any questions about our help center? All right. Going back to the website here, I'm just going to talk about our top bar. Now, our top bar is not part of my dashboard. This stays with you regardless of the page that you're on, as long as you are logged in to edit the site. There we go. That's a little more vibrant. So as long as you're logged in to edit the site, you should see this bar follow you regardless of where you are on the site. If it disappears, you got logged out. And that does happen. There is an hour timeout. So if you've left this up and you were doing other things on your computer or whatever, it will time out and lock you out. So you do want to make sure that you see that bar. And if you don't, you'll want to go back to the login page. Since I started over on the right here, I'm just going to work my way from right to left. So the first thing we had was our help center. Then I have my app switcher. So if you were using other Civic Plus products, you will see them here. Your name, which allows you to reset your password or change your information. And then the last thing on this side is a piece of mail. So this indicates to me whether or not I have a message. It will like pop up with a little circle and a number in it to let you know, you have an unread message. On the left-hand side, I've got my modules button, and you may not see every single module, but you'll see the ones related to what you do. This we kind of refer to as the filing cabinet of the site, because this is where you store all of your information. And then you take that information and you apply it to pages using widgets. After that, we have our dashboard button that takes us here. And then we have our home page button. And if you're following, you can click that home page button. And you should see that a new button has appeared on your screen that says Live Edit is off. That Live Edit button is what we turn on to make changes to pages on our site. So go ahead and click on Live Edit is off to turn it on. And it'll activate a toolbar, but we're going to talk about that toolbar once we've created a page for ourselves. So I've clicked on Live Edit to turn it on. And I've created a hidden practice page for you guys so that you have something to play on. Now, this is not a graded class or anything, so I'm not going to be offended if you don't make a practice page. But for the people who benefit from hands-on practice, I recommend you make a page. I created those hidden pages. I created that hidden page under business. So with your Live Edit on, when you go under business, you should now see something that says hidden CP training. And you should notice that there is add page right below that. So what happens is when you have access to a section of the website, you're going to see add page. When you see the add page, you would click on it to create a new page. And we have ones that do two different things. So all of these ones with a blue arrow create a subpage. Subpages are all of those pages underneath a section. So all the ones in white. The other ad pages you have are at the bottom. I'm going to indicate those with stars. And those ad pages create parent pages or sections of your site. So all of these guys would not be falling under any of these categories, but it would create a new category. What I want you to do is create a subpage under CP training. So utilizing the one that's indented. Because if we use the ones at the bottom, everyone's going to be creating their own sections, and I want yours to be hidden just like mine is. So what we're going to do to create our own practice pages is click the indented ad page under CP training to make a subpage. Does everyone have that button? Okay, so we're going to click on that, and it should take you to a space to fill out information about the page. We're going to make sure that we give it a title, a description, and keywords, and we're going to make it a hidden page. Let me redo this. Okay. A title, description and keywords, and we're going to make it a hidden page. For the title, you can name it after yourself. I'm going to be deleting these after training is done at the end of the week. So whatever you want to name it, that's fine. I'm just going to call mine Abigail's page. You'll notice that the title and the menu text match. That is a good thing. 9 times out of 10, you want them to match. The next thing is the description and keywords. This isn't really going to make a difference here for our hidden practice pages, but I like to practice this because this is something you would fill out on a normal page. The description is going to be 1 to 2 sentences about what's on the page. And then the keywords is anything you think someone might put into your search bar to get to that page. So, for example, if somebody was looking at your, let me clear these drawings here. Let's say somebody was looking at the page for preparing for climate change. Your description would be what kind of information is found on that page. And then your keywords would be either words or phrases related to that. So you could say, you know, climate change. You could use the old terminology, global warming, if you think somebody might be putting that into the search bar. You could utilize, you know, maybe there's keywords about like action plan, environment plan, whatever you think somebody might call you up about or put into the search is what you'd want to put. And they can, like I said, words or phrases. Yes, Marlene.
So you kind of mentioned a couple things. So if I were to put the word plan in my keywords, any of those that you just mentioned, does it like take a subset? Do you know what I mean? Like sub page, would it find, if I put page, would it find page in the word sub page? For instance, like a partial match, I guess.
So it wouldn't show up like at the top as being the most important. Whatever pages that have that as like a word by itself would show up first in the search results, but it would show up lower down the list. So you really want to go with what are the most important keywords related to it so that it would pop up.
Okay, thank you.
Because otherwise if you put plan, right, that's going to show for comprehensive plan, permit plans, building plans, like. it might not know which one to pick as most important. So it's better to use the phrase, climate plan or environment plan, and then put the comma instead of the word environment, and then comma plan, comma. What I mean by that is like in the keywords, right? It says separate phrases or words by commas. I think you're better off using phrases. So for example, for this, like it's a training page, so I might have like training page. But if I had just the word page, but someone's looking for another page, that might not be the most helpful keyword. Whereas training page, someone would more likely type that into the search bar. It's also very trial and error. So for this one, maybe training page, maybe like Civic Plus, website practice could be, its own word. You could misspell things as well. That's sometimes helpful. Maybe you have British people in your area and you want to have the S. I'm pretty sure they spell practice with an S. It's an interesting thing. But, misspelled keywords are also just as helpful for people. When you see commonly, that people are misspelling them, they're emailing you about them too. I feel like it's usually those IEEI words that you want to put both. Like field operations, and then also misspell the word field. So they both would pull up in the search. Okay. Any other questions about that? Okay. I'm just going to say this is a practice page to teach website best practices. Actually, I'm going to rephrase that. This is a training page to teach website best practices. Short, sweet description. The reason the description is important is because anytime someone clicks on one of these main sections of your menu, usually government is the one that has it the most. A lot of times they will have the information pull up. And it can also help when someone puts it into the search, because it should pull it up underneath. Oh, I meant to put GIS. And there'll be descriptions underneath. So you see the GIS mapping and map gallery has a description for that page. And the description says, take a look at various maps of the island. Right. Otherwise, when you're creating a page, I really don't think page tags are important to include. If you're not familiar with meta tags, skip it. Images, also not. This is for something called Format 4. You're not using Format 4. Format 4 generates little icons when somebody clicks on one of these main sections. They would show up like on the left of each of these main sections. You're not using that, so you don't need to be worried about it. And then we have hidden. Now, typically you're not going to hide a page, but because we're trying to hide this practice page from the public, we're going to choose the one that says hide from all site menus, search, and sitemap. And then feature column. The feature column is something that's on some pages, but not all. And I'll show you what that looks like.
A quick question.
Mhm.
If we don't do this particular hidden one, a search, it would find my keyword.
If you published it,
Oh,
yeah.
if I published it, okay.
Yeah, so what I like to do is I make them hidden in case someone hits save and publish and doesn't leave it as a draft.
Okay.
But yeah,
Gotcha.
once you publish it, it would potentially show up if we don't hide it. All right. So to kind of talk about that feature column section, you'll notice that on some pages, like for example, if I'm in the city clerk department page, I have this right-handed column. That is what our feature column is. Not every page has it, but you are generally going to see it with contact information on your department pages. Whereas some of these other pages, like our Preparing for Climate Change, uses it to put resource links. And then other pages just don't use it at all. So depending on what kind of page you're trying to make, you could use the feature column or not. I'm going to leave it off. And then when we do when we do user 2 on Thursday, I'm going to show you how to activate it if you didn't already have it. Yes, Marlene.
That was my question. If you don't check it here, can you go back later? Thank you.
Yes. Yep. No problem. That's why I always do it after the fact, because I feel like that tends to be the thing people need practice on, is how do I do that if I've already made the page? So yeah, we will do that on Thursday. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and create page. And that is going to activate our page. You'll see it says draft next to it. We're not going to hit save and publish, just like to have multiple fail safes in here. And I'm going to hit refresh. When everybody's making pages at once, sometimes you got to hit refresh to see everyone's. There we go. We've got Marlene's, we've got Peggy's, Laura's, and Dirk's. Awesome. And once you do that, it should activate your live edit toolbar. Now this toolbar might be on the left, it might be on the right, or it might be on the bottom. So it could be in any of those places. I really don't like it when it's on the bottom because my Zoom covers it a lot. So if you are playing with this and you don't like where it's located, there is actually an anchor icon. And when you click the anchor, it moves your toolbar. I'm going to put mine on the right. It's just easier with the way Zoom is laid out for me to see it on the right. Was everybody able to get their toolbar to activate? All right, awesome. So in this toolbar, we have different tabs. The most important tab is going to be our widgets tab. This is where our focus is this week. But just to kind of give you an idea of what the other tabs are for, we have a versions tab. This would allow you to create multiple versions of the same page. So for example, let's say I was looking at my Preparing for Climate Change page here, just because I already have it open. And I'm like, you know what? I want to make a lot of changes to this, but I'm not 100% sure what I want to do. Whenever that happens, instead of going in and starting to change the page right away, I can click Save as Copy, and it creates a second version. So you'll see now I have a draft version, and everything I do will not affect the one that's actually live to the public. So if I went and I decided I wanted this up here, and maybe I want to scooch this over more, this is not affecting the page that Autumn made at all. So the public still sees the original, and I can go in here and make all the changes I want, and this is not affecting the live page. So that way, when I'm ready, and I'm happy with it, I could publish it and override the one that Autumn has. And that is the biggest reason people use versions, is to make big changes, but, make those big changes without affecting the original. Any questions on versions?
So you have to save and publish and then do an override.
So once you hit save and publish, it overrides. I will do this very quickly and then remove it so we're not affecting people that are looking at the website right now. But watch, when I hit save and publish, so this is mine that I changed and deleted stuff on. It publishes mine and it put Autumn's as the draft. So if I realize, oh, you know what, I don't like this, I need Autumn's back again, I click on her version and click save and publish. And now her version is live. And it has my name because I published it. Does that make sense? It kind of like does the override automatically. All right, cool. I'm going to delete my draft version because I deleted stuff and I don't want anyone to accidentally republish that one. All right. All righty. So that's versions. That's why people would use it. The other ones that you have on here, there is a notebook to keep notes of like changes you're making on the page. One thing we found out about the notes tab is that it's foyable, so it may not be best to use it. I would keep your notes, on your computer or like me on a sheet of paper. Properties tab, this is going to be something that's more for your system admins, for them to add permissions for you. And then lastly, there is the layout tab, which is where you could add a feature column in after the fact. And we'll be doing that on Thursday. Any questions about those tabs before we get into widgets? All right. So we are going to be focusing on our content widgets today. And then on Thursday, we're going to be talking about modules and the module widgets that go with it. There are some content widgets that you probably will never use. So I'm just going to kind of start with which ones are popular, which ones are not. So in terms of your widgets that you'll probably never use, you probably won't use the search one because you have a search on your website already. The next one you probably won't use, probably not going to use share or site tools. The other ones might be the table and the text and list. And that is because the editor widget is the newer version. Those are kind of like the older versions. And the latest and greatest that makes lists, text, and tables is the editor. The other one you probably won't use is the pages widget. The pages widget is actually what allows me to make these menus. You probably won't use it. Ones that you might use, but might not. I'm going to put a star next to them. Carousel tab. The carousel would allow you to create a carousel of information. Tab widget, we saw it on the page for the climate plan, but we didn't see it like on our department pages. It's basically used also to organize information. And then another one you might use is a little farther down in this list, and that's the custom HTML here. This one would allow you to put HTML to like embed videos. Sometimes people use it. It's not as like super popular. And then we have the stars of the show. which are these top four. The editor, which is the meat and potatoes of the site. It has, it's how you type content. Image and slideshow to add pictures to your pages. And then related documents to put a lot of documents on your page at once. So these four are going to be our main focus. And then if we want to talk about the tab and carousel, we can. And that custom HTML, we can also talk about that one if we have some time. Now, before we go and add content to this, I like to cover some best practices. And after we cover those best practices, we can take a break because we are human beings. And I know that, our attention spans are only so long. So I like to give everybody a 5 to 10 minute break every hour, hour and a half. So we will do that right after that. So just to kind of establish some of our best practices here, I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint and let's talk about those. The first ones are called the rules of three. So the idea behind this is making content easy to find and easy to digest. 3 clicks is the idea that from the homepage to that content, how many clicks does it take me to get there? If it takes more than 3 clicks, people tend to have difficulty finding the information, and then they're more likely to call or email to get you to help them find the info. 3 scrolls is that pages should be short and informative. So 3 scrolls on a computer screen is like 7 to 10 scrolls on a phone. And that can be a really overwhelming amount of information on a page. So we want to keep those pages short. And then lastly, 3 sentences, short and informative paragraphs. The idea behind this is that when people come to government websites, they're looking for specific information and they're not there to read, an essay of info. So keeping your paragraphs short can help people, scan through the information and find what they're looking for. It's also helpful for people who have reading disabilities, like dyslexia or attention issues like ADHD. If the information is in shorter chunks. So taking a look at those rules of 3 in comparison to an existing page on your site, I'm just going to start from the home page and show you that most of your content is really within 1 click away. So if I wanted information about, let's say I want information about safety issues, I could come to the government tab, and on here I could go to police. And in police, there is a page called safety tips. It's not currently published, but if it was, that would be considered 2 clicks away. Let's say I wanted to know about anchoring and mooring on the island. On this page, right, which took me 2 clicks to get to, it is 1 scroll long, or 1.5 really. 1 and some change. So I am less than 3 clicks away, and I'm less than 3 scrolls. And you'll notice my paragraphs are short. So I am within that 3 sentences. So this is compliant to those rules of 3. Are there any questions about the rules of 3? Alrighty. So the next item is ADA. So there's really kind of like 6 things you have to remember. 3 clicks, 3 scrolls, 3 sentences, and then the other 3 come from the ADA. So the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, requires that electronic information be accessible to people with disabilities, and that includes government websites. And there are kind of 3 general rules of what you can do to make sure that your site remains compliant. The first one is paragraph formatting, which is using headers and subheaders. The idea behind this is structuring your page with topic headings so that people can visually, and people using screen readers can physically navigate through the information. So this page that we're looking at, anchoring and monitoring, is a great example. Each one of these paragraphs has, or sections, has a section title. These are called subheadings. Visually, as sighted people, we see the title of the page as the largest text, and we can visually skip through dock and launch, Blakely Harbor, and about Bainbridge Island's harbors, right? The creation of these subheadings also allows person who is blind or low vision using a screen reader to navigate the information the same way. What I mean by that is people that use screen readers, it's reading the whole page to them. If I didn't have these titles, it would read this page as one giant block of text. But because I have these titles on here, this is what the screen reader would say. It would say City of Bainbridge Island. Title, Anchoring and Monitoring on Bainbridge Island. Subheading 1, Dock and Launch Availability. Blakely Harbor Speed and Wake Restriction. About Bainbridge Island's harbors. And then that person could say to their screen reader, read Blakely Harbor Speed and Wake Restriction. And then it would start reading the paragraph. It's been a few years since you visit us. You'll find a new speed and wake buoys at the entrance to Blakely Harbor. And it would just read that one section, just like we can visually skip that first paragraph and also read that section. Any questions about that? Okay, awesome. The next thing that you have after the paragraph formatting is descriptive hyperlinks. So I don't know what it was about when we created the internet that we decided that we were going to make everything say click here. But it's been going on, for like 30 years at this point. However, we've also gotten to this habit that anything that's underlined is hyperlink. So now we can visually pick out all of our hyperlinks by finding something that's underlined. The problem with that is if they all say click here, it can get very confusing to somebody as to where I'm going. So instead of the hyperlink saying click here, it should tell me where I'm going. This is especially important for blind users because they don't have the ability necessarily to go back into that sentence to figure out where the link is going. What I mean is that screen readers can pick out hyperlinks, and if they all say click here, it's going to say links on the page, link 1, click here, link 2, click here, link 3, click here, and they're going to have no context. So it's very important to include where your link is going. So for that, I'm going to show you another page. I just like to, show random pages on people's sites to give you an idea. So when I'm on the public works page here, you'll see that I have different links. I have a link that says city projects. So I know this link goes to city projects. I have a link to the capital improvement plan and a link to the city council page, a link to the comprehensive plan. Yes, we will be taking a break soon. Thanks, computer. And then a link to the Title VI page. So this is very helpful. If they all said click here, I would have to go back into the paragraph to figure out where I was going. Yes.
So you said underlining automatically kind of gives us the idea it's a link. I see that they have their headings underlined. Are those links, or does this mean we have to avoid underlines in any way, shape, or form unless it's a link?
So we removed the capability to underline unless it's a link.
Okay,
So these are all hyperlinks.
got it.
Yes. So
Okay,
you
thank you for
see,
that.
yeah, this goes to the engineering page. Mhm. You probably won't see anything that's underlined that isn't a link unless it's a really, somebody hasn't updated that page in a really long time. Because we removed the ability to underline like also about a year ago. Alrighty. Yeah, we noticed that because of people believing something underlined is a link, a lot of a lot of people were giving us feedback that their residents were saying, "Oh, you have a bunch of broken links," when in reality they were just trying to click on underlined things. So we just got rid of the ability altogether, just to keep down people thinking that there's broken links that there aren't. All right. So this next one is not part of the, 6. This is the best practice, but it's kind of related to that descriptive hyperlinks. If you have a link that goes to a document, it can be helpful to identify the document file type. This is not an ADA law, but in the ADA world, people have found it to be helpful to allow someone to anticipate what is about to happen. So normally when you click a hyperlink, it opens up a page on your browser. But when it's a document, some file types like the docx, like I have here in my example, download. And so if you put the file type at the end of the name of that document, it can let someone know if they need to go look for something in their downloads or if it's going to open up in their browser. So for example, if I tried to open up, let's say there was a financial report and it was a spreadsheet, it would download to my computer because Excel spreadsheets automatically download. But if it was a PDF, it would open up in my browser. So it just helps somebody anticipate where they need to look. Any questions on that? All right. And then the last law has to do with descriptive alt text. So alt text is describing the photo to someone who doesn't see it. My example here says, hand holding a bird. So if it's a picture of someone holding a bird in their hand, that's what it should say. You're not trying to describe it for somebody to be able to recreate it in a painting or drawing. You're just trying to describe what's important about the picture. So for example, my cartoon guy over here, the important part is that it's a cartoon holding a megaphone. What's not important is that he's got a blue shirt on and the megaphone matches, and he's got charcoal pants and a nice beard. None of that's relevant to why I picked the photo. What's relevant is that he's holding a megaphone. So whenever you think about your pictures, you want to think about why you're including it. So, as another example here, right? This alt text for this picture is probably related to the fact that it is the public works employees, right? That's what's relevant about the photo, is that it's an employee picture. Maybe it's at a specific event. So you might say public works employees group photo at whatever this event is or wherever the building is. But you don't need to go and name every single person and how many people are there in the alt text. That's not really relevant. Any questions on alt text? All
Where do we
right.
see where do we see the alt text for that picture?
So alt text is something that is read out to a person using a screen reader. So we don't see it, but if you wanted to update it, when you go to your document center and you find your photo, I wonder if it was called Public Works. It was not. But for example, let's say you find your photo. When you click on the display name, it should tell you what the alt text is below it. Usually it autofills with whatever the title of it is. So you do want to usually update it. In this case, it would read City of Bainbridge Island Public Works Team 2022_4 media release. In this case, I would probably just do that for this alt text. All right. If I needed to find exactly what photo that is, I mean, the other way is I could click on my widget options. Actually, sorry, I lied. I would click on the picture. And usually it takes me to the folder that it's already in, but it doesn't look like it did that for me. I can also hover over the photo and it'll give me the photo title. So it says PW Barbecue 2023. Of course, I don't know if I can spell barbecue. Yeah, I didn't spell that right. Looks like is it this one probably?
Look like it might be at the top of your
Or the
list.
top one? Okay,
Yeah.
thanks. So I could click on the name and we can check. So here's where I probably would update it and say maybe PWW group photo, because it looked like a lot of them said barbecue in it. So at least people would know this is a group photo. Whereas some of those other pictures look like maybe they were pictures of the food. Do you mind if I update this one to say that?
Wouldn't you
that's
want to
good.
also say Public Works instead of PW?
Yeah,
Would
you're
that
right.
be good?
Yeah, because otherwise it's not going to know what that is. The screen reader would probably try to pronounce it and say pool. Yeah, you generally want to avoid abbreviations in your alt text. So, yep. So now we've got that one updated. So you would just want to make sure. When it comes to alt text and working on ADA compliance, the most important thing is that there is a good faith effort. So the best option is always, things that are actually live on pages. So you'll see a little number next to it if it's on a page. And then things that are, from now on updated. If they're very old, but the new stuff has alt text that's appropriate, you're showing a good faith effort.
So at the top of this page,
Mm-hmm.
what is the difference between public asset and document center?
So we're going to be practicing this a little bit later. Public assets is the photo side. Document center is where you upload documents. Because when I upload to public assets, it prompts me to include alt text. Whereas on the document side, it doesn't, because documents don't need alt text.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any other questions? Okay, so those are our best practices. Paragraph formatting, hyperlinks, and images for ADA. 3 clicks, 3 scrolls, 3 sentences for regular best practices. If we don't have any other questions, I'd like to give you guys an opportunity to take a break. Does 10 minutes work for you?
Sounds good.
All right, I'm going to put on my little timer here, and I'm going to pause the recording so there's not 10 minutes of dead air. All right, I'll see you guys back in 10. Go, use the restroom, get a drink, answer an email, whatever you need. All right. All right, so we just finished up best practices as well as the ADA laws here. And we are going to go back to our practice pages and apply these skills using our editor widget. So I'm going to make my way back here to my practice page, and I'll give you guys an opportunity to do that as well. And I'm going to grab some dummy text for us to play with. I'm just going to get the Wikipedia page about your island here. And I'll put that in the chat too if you want to use the same thing as me. Oh, my video's off. There I am. All right. So on here, I am going to apply my editor widget, and then I'm going to drag some text into that box. To put our editor widget on our page, we're going to click on the widgets button on the toolbar, and I want to drag and drop the editor onto the page. Now I must drag it into the gray container, which is that gray dotted box. If I don't, it disappears back into cyberspace. So I do need to make sure that that gray container is going from light gray to dark gray, and that will activate my editor. And let me know if you can't get that editor on there. All right, are we all okay with that? All right. So now I'm going to grab some text. Now, it's very important that when you guys take text from other sources, like another website page, an email that someone sent you where they wanted you to put stuff on the website, or a document that you've been working on, that you do not just go and paste it in here. Whenever you grab text from somewhere, you are also grabbing whatever computer code is attached to that as well. So when I go in here and I grab, let's say just like the first couple paragraphs of this history section and the main section here, and I copy it, if I go and paste this in, it is carrying over all the computer code from that website. And it would do the same thing if it were a page or an email as well. You see, it carried all this stuff over. And we don't want that. So whenever you copy paste from another place, you want to use paste as plain text. And if you're a keyboard person, instead of Control C, Control V, you want to use Control Shift V. And that will get rid of the code. And now you see I don't have any of that formatting from the other website. And I can go and clean this up. And I'm going to start with this one from here. And now I've got that cleaned up pretty quickly. Once you have text on your page, the next thing you're going to want to do is format the paragraphs. Now, our first instinct is probably going to be to find the font size, font color options. That doesn't exist here. We actually put all of our fonts information within this section that says normal. These are our paragraph formatting. The idea behind this is that we're restricting you to the color scheme and design of your website. So you only have certain things to pick from so that it's all consistent across the website. This also has special tags attached to it for people who are using screen readers to know that that information is important. So changing a font color and size is actually not enough to make something stand out to a screen reader, but it is enough for somebody who's sighted. So what this does is it combines the computer code part for people who use screen readers and the visual part for people who are sighted and use visual cues to know when there's a heading, and it puts it all in one place under this section called normal. So what we're going to do is we are going to assign our headings. Now to do that, we want to consider the layout of it. When we use paragraph formatting, we want to think like outlines or like when we write agendas. So if you kind of remember from grade school, we had like titles, and then it'll show up in a minute. It's white, I know. We had a title, and then we had our main topics. And then within those, we had subtopics. So it looked like this kind of structurally, and maybe you had like a Roman numeral 1 and 2, and then you had like ABC and 1, 2, 3 for your outlines. Is that kind of like vaguely familiar? Okay, so a couple people. Okay, awesome. So we could think of it in the same way. So headline, which is that first option under normal, is the title. So the title is actually my page title, Abigail's page. My main topic is going to be my subhead 1s, and all topics related to that, all of its subtopics are subhead 2s. So given what I copied over, my main topic is Bainbridge Island, and a subtopic of that is the history information. And so that would be my subhead 2. And you see now visually, I have a hierarchy of information. It is within the right color scheme of the site, and it has structurally changed in the computer code. We have a code view icon on our text, and it'll tell you it is H2, which means to the screen reader, read this second after you read Abigail's page. You're going to read the H2. And once you've read all the H2s, you'll start reading the H3s. So it creates that structure for it. Any questions on that? Okay. So now that we have some structure, I like to go in here and just kind of run quickly through what the little icons mean. So the first ones, I'm going to zoom this in. Oh, that's too zoomed in. There we go. So the first ones that we have here, we've got like our bold, italic, and strike through. You'll notice I don't have an underline feature at all anymore. So that's where I'm saying the only things that are going to be underlined is things that have a hyperlink. After those, I have subscript and superscript. So if I wanted to come in here and write like H2O, and I wanted the 2 lower, I could use my subscript. And then for superscript, if I wanted today, say that today is the 15th, which I think it is. Okay, good. I could highlight my TH and use the superscript to push it up. I have a quote. All this does is when I highlight text and I click the quotes, it puts it in quotes. I have an abbreviation feature. What this does is if I have an abbreviation like, ADA, I can highlight it and click abbreviation, and it'll indicate to someone that it's an abbreviation. It's not going to tell them what it's abbreviation for. It just lets them know it is. So, same thing with WA. I could indicate that it's an abbreviation. For some reason, yours is making this like extra long box on the outside, which is interesting. I don't know. This should also help screen readers. Instead of trying to pronounce this as ADA and Washington as WA, it should try to say ADA and WA because we've identified it as an abbreviation. After that is a language one. So if I wrote, in Spanish, my name is Abigail, I can choose what language it is, and it just indicates to the person that it is in Spanish. Usually when I hover over it, it says Spanish language, so there's something going on with my box here. It's probably inside of there. But you'll see the kind of show up grayed out. And when you hover, it'll say what it is. I typically see people use the language one when they have to have everything written in 2 languages or more. So I've seen that a lot in like California and Texas where they have things written in Spanish and English, and they'll just identify what part starts the Spanish part. After that is our clear formatting. This would ditch all of the formatting I use, so it got rid of the abbreviations, it got rid of the strike throughs, but it does keep your headings, which is nice. And then on its own little row here, we have the spell checker. This is going to check for spelling and grammar. So grammar highlights in blue and spelling highlights in red. If the spelling is correct, you can always hit ignore all, or you can add it to your dictionary. Any questions on this essentially first row?
Is that dictionary for everyone or just for me?
It would be yours.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Okay. The second row is also pretty self-explanatory in terms of like the abilities that we have here. So align does exactly what it says it does. You can align everything different. So if I want to align my text in the center, I could. Ordered list is our numbers. Unordered lists are bullets. So let's say I've got information and I feel like it's too long and I want to break it into bullet points. I could hit my enter key here. Highlight the things I want to put in bullets and click on my bullets or numbers. And each of these has a little drop down that looks like a triangle that would allow you to choose different styles depending on what you want. Then I've got the headings and subheadings that we talked about for our paragraph formatting. And then our increase and decrease indent. And when you do that on bullets, it does know to change them to different levels. And then the last one is block quotes. So this is the only one I feel like in this row is a little different other than the paragraph formatting, of course. The block quote kind of reminds me of what you would use on like a magazine or newspaper when they want to make a quote stand out and it's like a different size text and it's really bolded. That's what the block quote is. So if I want to block quote something, the first thing is I have to make it in its own block or paragraph. So I hit the enter key to make it stand out. So let's say I want this part about Bainbridge Island being the second largest city in Kitsap County. I'm going to highlight my text and I click on that block quote. And you'll see it changed the color and it italicized it and made it a little bit larger. And I can even go and bold it to make it really stand out. The block quote doesn't work mid-sentence or mid-paragraph. If I highlight a section, it's going to do the whole paragraph. That's actually why it's called a block quote. It does the entire block of text. That block meaning, you know, when you hit that enter key. Any questions on the block quote or any of the ones from the middle row here? All right. So our last row, I'm going to come back to the documents and images section, and we are going to talk about the icons over here. So we have links, tables, and special characters. The special characters do all have alt tags that go with them. So it would indicate to somebody like who's using a screen reader, if I have the copyright symbol, it'll say copyright sign. And when you hover over it, it lets you know what it is and what it would say. So I could use different things. Maybe I need arrows. Maybe I need different currency, the trademark or copyright symbols. Or maybe I want to add something cute and fun. I do have those symbols. Next to that is my table. And when I insert tables, I'm given this kind of grid. I can have up to a 10 by 10 table. I'm going to make a small one here. And that is going to activate its own set of options. So when I'm on a table, I get my own menu. I can put in a header. I can add and remove rows and columns. I've got that like alternate rows where I can go between the gray and white to make it easier to read the rows. And it is smart. It knows what to add next. I've got the ability to merge cells. And then I've got the danger button. Well, in my opinion, the danger button, which is the fact that you can change the background color. But I would be very careful with this because number one, you can't change the text color. So if I've got this dark blue background and I'm typing in it, I can't read that. I genuinely can barely see it, if at all. I can see it on the lighter background, but I want to make sure that whatever table I'm making, I'm not giving that information solely by color. Color blindness is actually pretty common, especially red-green color blindness. So if I was making like a report and I said, you know, anything in green is good and anything with a red cell background is bad, this is going to be very hard to read for someone who's red-green colorblind, which is actually like almost 1 in 20 people. I used to teach art as well as digital design, and I would have my kids, they were high school students, so young adults, take a colorblindness test just for their own benefit, and they were allowed to share the information or not with me. And guaranteed, every class, I'd have at least one person who was red-green colorblind. Because of that, you want to make sure that if you are providing information with color, you're using some other indicator. Like maybe if it's good, I've got a plus sign. and the green. And if it's bad, I have a negative sign and the red. Because red and green look really close to brown to people who are red-green colorblind. Um, Also, you could use those special characters. Maybe you have a heart next to the good stuff, you know, or a check mark or something like that. Any questions on the table? All right. The last thing I did want to mention about the table is tables can have captions. So if you want to summarize the information, there's a caption space and a summary space. So I could say summary of findings and, you know, put that information in. This can be really helpful for people who, I think I put it in the wrong place. I need to put that in a caption. This can be really helpful for people who are not great at following. Oh, it's in white right now, but bear with me. It can be helpful for people who are not great at following along with tables. Because there are definitely people out there who can't follow the lines to understand what content goes with what. So adding in a caption can be helpful. But it looks like yours is showing in white, which is a problem. I'm going to mark that to let our team know that your table captions are showing in white so they can fix it. It should be black. All right. Next, we're going to talk about links. And there are 3 types of hyperlinks. Since this is a topic different than Bainbridge, I am going to make this a subhead 1. The 3 types of hyperlinks are called absolute links, relative links, and masking links. These are subtopics of my hyperlinks, and so I'm going to make these subhead 2s. And I am going to keep this up until Friday, so if you want to reference what I'm writing here, you can, and I'm also going to include this in the post-training email about the types of links. So I think it's helpful for a lot of people. So the first type of link is your regular everyday link. And you want to use this when you are linking to an external website, meaning, you know, not something that's part of your website. To do this, we can type whatever we want it to say. So maybe I want to link over to this Wikipedia page for Bainbridge. I would type my text, right? I want to make sure it's descriptive. So I've got my Bainbridge Island Wikipedia page. I highlight my text, click on my chain link, and then I put the URL right in there. So I'm just going to copy it from my address bar and paste it. And click insert. And now I have my hyperlink. You'll see it underlined it and changed the color to green. Any questions about absolute links? Right. So relative links are a little bit different. Relative links are used to link to other pages or content in your website only. You can't use this for anything but things related that's already in your website. And I like to say you use everything after the .gov. Okay. What this does is it prevents broken links if you guys ever decide to change your domain. So say you go from a .gov to a .com, or you spell things out differently for your domain name, those links will not break because they're only using everything after the .gov. So let's say I wanted to link to, let's say, Peggy's page. Instead of using the whole link, I'm just going to grab this /1457 / Peggy's practice page and copy that. So then, and if you want to use the same one, I'll put it in the chat. So then when I make my link, I am going to say, you know, Peggy's practice page. Highlight that text. Click on my chain link and put that relative URL in there and click insert. And now I have a relative link that will not break if you guys ever change your domain. All right. Any questions about relative links?
So what happens if people try to copy a link and make it their own shortcut at home if they're using a relative link?
Like if they, let me see if I can actually
Let's
do
say
it.
they go to a page all the time, but it's a relative link, they would have to add the bainbridgewide.gov in front of it in order to make a link on their page.
No, they wouldn't see that necessarily. Because when they click, like, for example, open link in new tab here, it still shows the whole thing here.
Okay.
It's just the code that you use. So that way, like, say you did go to .com, whenever they hit open link in new tab, it would actually show bainbridge.com / it would automatically update it to the correct domain. Even I think if I do copy link address, let's see, you see, even when I click copy link address, it knows to put in the domain for you. And kind of think of it as like a smart link. Any other questions? All right. So the last one's going to be masking links. And for masking links, these are for masking phone numbers or emails, and it helps prevent scams. So if you've heard of phishing, which is like scam emails, vishing, scam voicemail, smishing, scam text messages, masking a link can help prevent that. To do that, instead of like me writing out my whole email address here, I can't even spell today. Instead of me doing that, I want to write like email Abigail. And I can highlight that. And instead of when I click on that chain link, putting in a URL, I put in my email address. And when I do that, when somebody clicks on this, it's going to open up whatever email they have. So, you know, in my case, it would open up my Outlook, or if I was using my phone, I would open up my Gmail. And this is makes it harder for bots to collect your information because it's hidden behind a link and not just an email out there. Phone numbers is a little bit different. If you wanted to mask a phone number, when I highlight it and click on the chain link, I've got to use TEL and then a colon and then put in my phone number. The link chain link is really good at knowing when something's an email, but you do have to tell it when it's a phone number by putting in TEL colon, and then you can type in your phone number. And you can use dashes, dots, nothing like I've got here. And as long as you have the TEL in front of it, it's going to know it's a phone number. And then if I clicked on this on my cell phone, it would dial it. Any questions on this?
Are you going to cover when it's best to use open in new tab at some point in the training?
Oh, sure, we can talk about that. So depending on your policy, for open in a new tab will determine whether or not you want to. So typically relative links are always going to open in the same tab because you're opening other places on your website. And a lot of people like to make external links open in a new tab. However, that kind of depends on your population. So one of the things it's kind of highly contended is the ability to have the back button. So for example, I've worked with clients where a large amount of the population was not very tech savvy, and they were older. It was a retirement community. And so we never did open in a new tab because they were, their residents struggled to know that other tabs were at the top. But for the general public and for most people, you typically make anything that is external open in a new tab. Does your population kind of more general, or are they kind of more less, or are they less tech savvy?
I don't know. I think we have a mix. I'm not quite sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, also on and Dirk maybe will answer that better than I. Also,
Mm-hmm.
like on forms, like if there's a link to a form, I've always been told to open that form in a new tab, just so that they can get back to the page they were on where they were able to get to the form. Does that make sense? And is that common practice?
Yeah. So when it comes to documents, which we'll be covering documents and images next, documents always open in a new tab, yes. And since a form is typically considered a document, even if it's like a, you know, a URL that takes you there, you always open those in new tabs. Yeah, Laura?
One thing I'd be interested to learn, and maybe it's in the next session, or maybe I'll find out otherwise, is how to fix some broken links. For example, if I search on our website for the open water marina, there are like 3 links that pop up, and 2 of the 3 are broken. So I want to lead those to the correct link. So that's something that I'm interested in.
Oh, sure. So we don't necessarily have a software that picks up the broken links, but we use a third party. So in our help center, I will send this in your post-training email. We use this website, Broken Link Check.
Mhm.
You put in your URL.
Yeah, that is handy, but then how do I fix them? That's the piece I
Yeah,
need.
oh yeah, that's what yeah, I'm gonna show you.
Sure.
So once I generate it, I just wanted to use a real one. So once I generate this, I'll have something, or we can use the one you said. Report distinct broken links. Oh, I didn't type the security code right. Let's see if I can get one. All right. So revised code of Washington is one. When I go to that page, I click on my text box. As long as my live edit is on, I click on my text box and it opens up. And when I click on a link, I have the option to open the link, edit the link, or unlink. So to fix that broken link, I click on the pencil to edit it, and I update the link.
Ah, okay. Because I would just use the search feature in our own website, and then, but I didn't know how to get to the base of that link. But if I use the website that you just showed me, and then I search for it, then that's how I find
Right.
the
I think
source
this
of
is
that hyperlink.
exactly. I think it's a lot easier than trying to, like, when you see it in the search, trying to figure out where it was, because this literally says page where found, and you can click on the URL and it tells me exactly where it is. So this one was the eat and drink one. This is going to be a little different because it's actually a page. But for most of them, you'll do what I showed you with that pencil. If it's a page like this, you see it says this page links to this place. Go there now or use the version tab to edit the page. Because this is a linked page and not a link on a page, I click the versions tab, and then when I go to my options, there I have the link.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. That one's a little bit like more advanced, but I'll make sure to include also so broken links, and then also edit the link on a linked page on linked pages. Okay, got that. All right. Any other link related questions? Or I mean, honestly, any other questions regardless? Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to click on our yellow check mark in the right-hand side. And we're going to click save at the top, not save and publish. I don't want these to be published. It's always a good habit to save your work and to make sure you're doing it pretty often while you're working. If you don't save, yes, I found someone on the first try. If you don't save, it'll say who's editing it and it'll say it's locked and you're not going to see anything. So until Dirk in this case saves, his page is going to be blank. You can override that with the unlock and edit button. If I did that, it would push theirs into a draft. Laura, do you mind if I do that on yours?
Go ahead.
So when I click unlock and edit, you'll see now I have basically unlocked it for myself, and the one she was working on is now a draft.
How are you telling which one is which? They both just by the date timestamp, or?
Yeah, I'm just looking at it by the timestamp right
Okay,
now.
got it.
Yeah. And then once I start working in here, it'll change to my name anyway. So like if I added content and I click save, I can see mine is this top one. And it's got my name now. All right. All right, awesome. I want to give you an opportunity. Are we good to continue and go over documents and images, or do you guys want a quick 5 minutes to take a quick break? Up to you guys if you need it, or if you just want to push forward and keep going. Okay. We will keep going. All right. So the last items we're going to talk about are the documents and images. So whenever we add documents and images to a page, it's best practice to upload them first and then go to the page to apply them there. So to upload documents and images, we are going to go to the modules section. And this is what we're going to be doing pretty heavily on Thursday. So we go to modules and we're going to click on Document Center.
Did that originally recently change from images to public assets?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Not very many people are happy about that. We don't know why they made the change, I'm going to be honest. But this is recorded, so I'm not going to make too much more comment about it. So on here, you'll see we have two sides, Document Center and Public Assets, previously known as Image Repository. And in here, we're going to add our documents and images for practice. Whenever you add a document, you'll be on the Document Center side. When you add an image, it'll be on Public Assets. And yeah, this changed like 2 weeks ago, so it's really new. It did also update the little folder icons here, as well as made some improvements on the public asset side that I'll be showing you. So if we want to add a document, we always want to click on the folder we want to put it in first to open the folder. And then the third button would be Add Documents. The other items here, we have Modify Folder if you needed to change permissions or change the name of the folder. Add Folder would create a subfolder, so like how the City Advisory Groups has a bunch of subfolders. And then Copy Folder Link you could use if you wanted to have all of the contents of the folder listed somewhere in a link. You can use that. And then you'll notice when I'm on a live one, I don't have publish or delete. I just have unpublish. This is on purpose. You can't delete anything without unpublishing it first. And that is to help prevent you from deleting everything on your website. So you always have to unpublish. And once something is a draft, that's the only time you'll see that delete button as an option. So what we're going to do is we're going to click the third button, Add Documents, while you're on the folder called CP Training, Do Not Publish, because I don't want it published. And you're going to get this pop-up. In the pop-up here, we can either drag and drop from our computer or single click, and it's going to open up the File Explorer on your computer. I'm going to grab the file that I want. Let's say I want this bingo sheet. I'm going to get a white check when it's ready to go. And I'll give you guys a chance to find something that you want. And then we're going to hit that yellow continue button. In here, I have the opportunity to update my display name. I can give the document a description, and then I have a start and end dates. So when we were talking about expiring items before, I'm giving you a scenario here where you might have expiring items. So for example, since this is a Halloween bingo, maybe I want this to only show up during Halloween. I can give it an end date for November, and it would expire on November, and I could always, republish it for next year. I also want to include the best practice of providing the file type at the end. So in parentheses, I put PDF. All of the names of your documents and your folders can be seen by the public. So you want to make sure all of those folders in the document side and all of your documents have appropriate names that are clear so people know what they're, clicking on. Once you have this, normally you would click Save and Publish. In this case, we're just going to click Save. And then we'll see our documents populate. You'll notice when your document gets added, it will have a unique ID number, the display name, the number reference column, and that lets you know what pages it lives on, when it was last modified, the status, and then actions. So actions would allow you to modify that information, publish, delete, unpublish, depending on what you have, move to move it to another folder, copy a link so you could get that relative link or that absolute link to that document, and then preview. So if you forgot what it was, you can preview it and see what the heck it was. I can find these last columns really helpful because I can get a good idea of whether or not it lives on a page when it was last modified and if it's even published, to help me kind of clean up my site. So if I see something that's not even on a page and it's a draft and it's been here for like 10 years, it could be a good indicator that it might need to get deleted later on. Another thing I like about the Document Center is for documents and images, you can actually replace them and they update everywhere. What I mean by that, for example, this universal revision request form is on 3 pages. It's on the permits page, the applications page, and this submitting a permit application page. Normally, let's say you updated this document, it was like a spelling thing. Normally, you'd have to go in, delete it, add it again, and then put it on the pages. What we have is the ability to modify this. And when I modify it, there is a replace file option. If you replace the file and click save, that file will be replaced with the new one in all of the locations it lives. So in this case, all 3 pages will be updated at once with the new document. Any questions about documents or replacing or anything like that? All right.
Actually, I had one question. Do you have access to the other copies or not? Or are they just deleted?
They're essentially deleted, so it depends also like legally what you need to have. What I would recommend in a lot of those cases is replace the old one with the new one and then just upload the old one if you need to have it for records reasons.
Okay.
That way you don't have to do, like in this case, you'd have to upload the new one and then put it on 3 different pages. That would be really tedious. I think it's faster to just upload the old one and replace the old one with the new one. So you have both copies if you need it.
I've also found that if you name something very specific, then when you change the file, it doesn't match with what you named it on the page.
Oh, so depending on if you included 2022 and it's the 2023.
Right.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, that could be an issue if you named it on the page with the year. That's a good point. You would have to go back.
You could go in and edit that, couldn't you? Would that change it on the pages? If you change the title?
So you have the ability, I think what Dirk is talking about is you have the ability to like override the name when you put a document on a page. And so it wouldn't change
got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if it's called, like in this case, the 2022-0802 design for Bainbridge Rev 2022, but on the page you named it 2022 revision for Bainbridge, that overrides whatever you put in here, so it's not going to change it. So, yeah, there is definitely a caveat in there with it, but it can be helpful or it can create the same amount of work, I guess, in Dirk's case of what he's talking about. All right. Anything else with this one? All right. So, other side, public assets. Public assets, previously you were unable to move things easily around in here on the image side. So for those of you who have been using this site, just to let you know, this has now been updated to where it is a lot easier to do things. There's a bulk actions now where you can click the check and I could move multiple things at once or delete multiple things at once as needed. So just to let you know, there's been improvements on this side. For everyone else who maybe aren't familiar with this already, it works just like the document side. So I would click on the folder. I named mine CP Training Picks. There was an older one in here from the last training you guys had in 2022, looks like. Mine is the top one up here. I like to put a dash so it shows as the first one. But you would click it on the folder and then you'll see just like the add documents was the third button, add images here is also the third button. And then I can either drag and drop or click. I'm going to use, let's do the beach cleanup here. I'll give you guys a chance to find something. And click continue. And you'll see here, instead of giving me a display name and a description, I have the display name and the alt text. And it does autofill with whatever the name was of my image. Images usually have crazy names, so you do want to make sure you clean that up. And for my alt text, I want to describe that photo. So it was two men with shovels cleaning up the beach. I could be more specific if it was like an event that you had, maybe two men cleaning up the beach at the annual summer cleanup, you know, whatever. You could get a little more specific, but you don't have to make it incredibly long. I don't need to say that they had white t-shirts on and hats and whatever. That wasn't relevant to why I'm including the picture. So I'm just describing what I think is important about it.
Is it possible to put an image in the document center still?
When you put an image on the document side, it's not going to show up when you use the image widgets to like select it as an option.
Okay, so just as far as it should go under images, but it still could go under document center. I accidentally put an image under document center, so.
Yeah, you'll notice that then it'll open like in a new tab or something like that as like its own page or something.
Is there a way to move it from the document center to the image?
You know, now that they've updated it, I haven't tried, but let me see. Typically, it's that you have to delete it and then re-upload it in the public asset side, but let's see if they changed it.
F5 error, the top one.
F5 error, okay.
PNG file.
Let's see. Move. No, it looks like it's the same. You would have to
Okay.
delete it and then put it on the other side.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll want to pay attention to like when you're on here, which tab you've clicked on. So if you're on the document side, you'll see the tab kind of in a darker blue with white text to let you know this is the document side. But it's not a bad idea for them to add something like that. I'm going to go ahead and click save on mine. I see some of you guys already did that. And then we have our images. When you have an image, you have this thumbnail that's been added, and you can actually click on the thumbnail and it gives you a crop tool, which is pretty nice and nifty. I like to use this when I'm making slideshows so that everything is the same aspect ratio. So I'll make all my pictures, you know, like 4x3s or 1x1s or whatever, so that they all match by using this crop tool. So maybe I want this one a square. I'm going to click overwrite and crop. And what's going to happen is now my image is saved as a square instead. What happened? My page is not loading. There we go. All right. Any questions on this side? Oh, I have a, yeah, so interestingly enough, I have a message from Civic Plus, so you can actually see in action that I have a 1 with a yellow circle in the top, letting me know there's a message from Civic Plus. And you'll see that it says enhancement rollback. We regret to report public assets encountered a stylizing issue. We have to roll back. No! So I just told you about how you can use those bulk actions to move. It looks like it's having an issue. And they have to roll back the public assets bulk actions. So looks like we won't have the ability to move for temporarily. Dang it. Sorry, guys. So they apologize for their inconvenience. And updates on progress will follow shortly. But the benefit is that you got to see what it looks like when you get a message there. All right. I'm going to go back to my practice page. To get back, I clicked on home page, and then we put them under business. And we're going to add some documents and some images here, and then we will be done. So we'll start with documents. There are 2 ways to add documents. The first way is going to be inside of our editor here. So I'm going to click on this box. And let's say I had a document I wanted to add in here. Let's say it's my bingo sheet. I'm going to write Halloween bingo sheet. I'm going to highlight my text that I want to link to my document. And instead of clicking on that chain link, I'm going to click on the insert document link. This is going to take me to my document center. Now I'm not going to actually see my bingo sheet or anything we uploaded, and that's because it's a draft. I did that on purpose to show you that when something is a draft, you will not be able to use it. So I'm just going to pretend that this legislative policy guideline is my bingo sheet. And so it gives me the relative URL of the document and then where I can put the name. And so this is what I was talking about, where you're kind of overwriting the original name of that document when you put in the text here. And so that's why I was saying with what we were talking about earlier, that like you have to go back and change the names on the page. That is true. If you name them with the year and you updating it with the new year, you would have to go back and change this. You'll notice open in a new tab is auto checked because documents should open in new tabs. And then I'm going to click insert. And now I have the link to my document. Now say I wanted to make sure people knew this was a PDF. I can always edit my document with the pencil and go in here and change the name and click update. I feel like I went through that pretty fast. Are you guys okay, or do you need to see it again?
No, I think that was fine, but then if it's a picture, then we come over here to the picture one instead of the file folder.
Yes. So if you want to do a picture or a slideshow, instead of clicking on that folder icon, you're going to click on the image icon, which looks like mountains, or the slideshow icon that looks like a play button. So for images, I click on that. Very similar, but it's showing me the public assets side. So this is what I'm saying. If you put it in the document center, you're not going to be able to find it because it only opens up the side that's called public assets when you click on that picture. And let's say I want to use this guy. It is now inserted my image. And just like my table, with images, I have my own little set of options. So I can replace it. I've got align tools. I can make this picture a link if I want to, have someone be able to click on it and it goes somewhere. I can make it inline to wrap my text. I've got like border options if I want to give it a little border. I can check my alt text when it's inside of my editor. I'm not really sure what this is a picture of. Is this like a ferry boat? Or just a regular boat? A police boat, maybe?
Yeah, I think maybe it's our police boat.
It is a police boat.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got a hat that says Bainbridge Island Police. I didn't even look at that. So I could say kids smiling on the police boat. Or kids smiling with an officer. And then lastly, I have a ruler. And this allows you to change the size of your picture. So you can use the toggles or you can use the ruler. Now they do two different things. When I use the toggles, it makes the image what's called non-responsive. What that means is, let's say I've got some text wrapping around this. Let me make this smaller. Okay. Let's say it's wrapping my text here. Let me make it, there we go. So it's wrapping my text. And when I have something that's non-responsive, as my page shrinks, my image is not shrinking, but my text is wrapping more and more around it. You see how it's kind of wrapping and wrapping and wrapping and wrapping? That means the image is not responding to my page changing size. If I use the ruler, I can type in a percentage and it makes it responsive. So let's say I want this to take up 25% of my width. Now, as I resize, it's always taking up a quarter of the width, 25%, because that's what I typed. So you see it's getting smaller and smaller as I shrink it, and bigger as I grow the page. Now, in terms of best practice, that kind of depends. I feel like the best practice is to make it responsive so it responds regardless of what size screen someone uses. But if you use the toggles, it's not the end of the world. Because after a certain point, once it gets really small, it will start resizing. You see, now it's actually shrinking. So it's not, end all be all when it comes to responsiveness for like viewing it on a phone.
So you set it as 25%, and then you used a toggle, and as soon as you used the toggle, then it switched it back to the toggle, right?
Correct.
Responsive.
Once I use the toggle, it gets rid of that. You see, now my text is wrapping around it again. Any questions on that?
So how do we know by looking at this which widget it is?
You mean if I use the ruler or if I used the toggles?
No, I mean the entire widget. This was an editor widget, or wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm inside the editor.
How do I know that?
Oh, sure. So the way you can tell what widget you're using is most of them have widget options at the top. The editor does not. So when I click on the text, it opens up this big menu of options. This is how I know I'm in the editor.
Yeah, but we have some like old text and text widgets and stuff like that. But how do I know if it's a text widget or an editor widget?
So the text widget really doesn't have a lot of features in it. But you see how it has. You see how when I'm hovering over it, there's a widget options and I have text here? That's how I know this is a text widget. So the widget options is this little like bulleted list. And you see it doesn't exist on the editor one. I don't have that icon.
Yeah, the reason I ask is one of my biggest problems is figuring out which part of the page I'm on, what it's called, and because if I want to go to help to find out how to change it, I need to know what it's called.
Right. I gotcha. So most of the other ones you'll see have widget options and it'll say, in this case, text widget options. If I wanted to know if a picture was an image widget or inside my editor, the regular image widget, which I'm about to show you guys, also has widget options. And when you click on it, it tells you right at the top, image widget option. So it's letting you know it's the image widget. The only one that doesn't have image option or widget options is the editor. So if you don't see the icon, you're on the editor. I hope that helps. Okay. All right. So we've inserted an image. We inserted a document. And then we're going to talk about those standalone image and document widgets as well. So inside of our editor here, I inserted a document and it did it one at a time. I can do it one at a time. I type the text, I click the folder, and I add the document. If I want to put a bunch of documents on my page, that is really tedious. And like Dirk was mentioning, if I have to edit this document and I replace the document in the document center, I might have to come back here and change the name. So a good solution when you've got documents is to use the related documents widget instead. So taking a look at that one, I'm going to click on widgets and I'm going to find related documents here. And I'm going to drag and drop this onto my page. That'll activate a container on the left, right, top, and bottom. But I do need to make sure I'm seeing one of those containers, one of those dotted boxes, because if I don't, it will disappear into cyberspace. So I do need to place it on the dotted box. And you'll see it says related documents, widget options. When I'm on this, I have my widget skin and heading, which I typically don't mess with. I might play with those with some of my module widgets, so I'll be showing you that on Thursday. But really, when you're doing documents, what you're concerned about is how many columns and the sort order. So if I want my documents to show alphabetical, by most or least recently modified, or manually, I can do that. To get out of this, I just click on the gray X in the upper right corner of the pop-up. And then you'll see it says begin here to add section title and click here to select and add documents or drag and drop from your computer. Please don't drag and drop from your computer. It's best to just click on it and then find the files that you're looking for. So maybe I want these 3. I'm going to check them with the checkbox and click Insert Marked. And you'll see now all 3 of those documents are here. A big benefit of using this widget as well is that if you do replace the file, it does update the name when you add files this way. Another benefit is how fast I just added those 3 all at once. I didn't have to type in something, click on the folder, click, insert. I just clicked on a bunch of check marks, click insert marked, and then they're all there all at once. Any questions on that? All right. So I'm going to show you when I add another section that there's also a really cool feature in here where you can populate something dynamically. So let's say, for example, I need all of these steering committee agenda. Well, these are really old. Let me use something more recent. Let's say I need these work plan priorities all on the same page. Okay. I can actually select the whole folder and you'll see it says contents of widget will be populated dynamically. What that means is every time I add a new document to this folder, it will automatically show up on my page because I selected the folder itself. I see this a lot when people want to have all their permit stuff on one page. They'll make a permit folder and populate it dynamically. I've seen it with communications where they've got all their newsletters will populate dynamically. I've also seen it for, I'm trying to remember what they had. Oh, financial reports. I've seen that as well. And so if I ever added another document to this, it would be updated automatically onto this page. Now, say I've got this on here and I realize, oh, this is very long. I want to make it 2 columns. I can always go back to that pop-up by clicking on my widget options, which again looks like a little bulleted list or hamburger menu. It'll bring that pop-up back up I can see what widget it is, and I could come in here and update it and make it shorter by putting it into 2 columns. Also, if I make my sort order manual, that's going to allow me to drag and drop the order.
So did you add another section? Is that what this is? Or no?
Yeah, so I clicked add another section, and I created a new section of documents. So that way they show as 2 different sets of bulleted lists, but it's still all in one widget. So it's organized. If I wanted my COBI connects to be in 1 column and then my city plan documents to show as 2 columns, I would need to have 2 separate related documents widgets, because that way I would be able to change the columns on 1 to 1 and change the columns on the other to 2. So otherwise it does it to all of them. Or like if I wanted these alphabetical but these by date, I would need 2 widgets instead of 1 widget with sections. Okay. Any other questions on that? All right, so the last thing we're going to do is use the image standalone widget. So I showed you documents are drastically different in the editor versus out. Images are very subtly different. The main difference with the image widget is that you can't wrap text. So I can't have my text wrap around like I did here if I use the standalone. That is a disadvantage, but the advantage to the standalone image widget is I can actually give that image a title, which I can't do inside the editor. To use that standalone image widget, I'm going to drag and drop it onto my page. I'm going to put this up here. Well, I didn't drop it into the container, so it disappeared. There we go. And then I'm going to find the image that I want and click insert. Let's see. Once I have my image, you'll notice there's no toggles, there's no additional menu here. And that's because it's done through my widget options. And this is where I said this was a little bit special because I can add a header to that photo. I have that ability to add or remove a border just like I did inside of my editor. And I can also make the image a clickable link just like I could inside the editor. I don't have toggles. I can't wrap text. So in order to resize my photo, the only way I can do that is if I put another widget next to it. And that is because your widgets are by default the whole width. So I could put it next to another one, or I can put other widgets next to it. So to move a widget, I use the diamond icon. And once I move a widget next to another, it activates this blue line that allows me to resize. And if I didn't want it to be like text, I just want white space, there is a widget for that. So I'm going to move this back up and grab the widget called Spacer. Spacer allows you to fill with white space. So if I plop this on the left here, and let's say I plop a second one on the right, I now have the ability to update my spacing and even center my picture. Any questions on that?
I pretty much took.
You use a text widget, so you can add text later
For
instead of a spacer widget.
if you wanted to have like a caption, you mean?
Well, a spacer widget doesn't give you very many options, but if it was a text widget, then you could leave a blank and then just add text if you wanted to later.
Oh yeah, sure. If you wanted to add text, you could do that.
Okay.
But if you're just looking for white space, like on the sides to center the picture, the spacer is a better option so someone doesn't go and throw text on it later. If that makes sense. Like if you purposefully want to just have that white space, like this, and you didn't want anybody to put text there, you'd want to use the spacer.
Got it.
But yeah, you can put anything next to it. All right. Any other questions? All right. So we do have 8 minutes. The slideshow, I could show you the slideshow or the custom HTML, depending on what you guys find more relevant. The slideshow would be a set of photos. You can do that inside or outside of the editor. It functions very similar to the image widget. The custom HTML is for things like embedding like YouTube videos, if that's something that you guys think you'd use. What would you guys prefer?
Could I see the custom HTML if nobody else has a preference? And also, how is that the only way to get a video on there, like a YouTube video? Or is there some way?
To embed it to play, yes. Otherwise, you'd have to put a link, you know, in your text for someone to click on and go to YouTube. Okay. All right. It looks like you have a second taker for that too. So let's do custom HTML. So the custom HTML widget is designed for any HTML iframes. Some people use them that are really tech savvy and they build their own HTML code. But most of the time, people are using it either to embed their news feeds from their social media, like a Facebook feed, or to embed a YouTube video. To use it, you place it on your page, and then it's a box that you paste the HTML code into. So when I go to YouTube or Vimeo, it looks pretty similar. When you go to YouTube and you find a video, there is always a share option. So let's say I want this focus music for work video to be on my page. More realistically, it'd probably be like a safety video or a promo video of some sort of like an event happening. But you'll notice when I hit share, the first option says embed. All I need to do is copy this information with the copy button, and then I'm going to paste it into my custom HTML. And I click done, and now it has embedded my video.
I think I missed a step. When I clicked on it, it started playing. So I think I was working while I was listening. I'm not sure how you, yeah. So can you?
So how I got to there?
Yeah. Okay. So I dropped the custom HTML widget. Okay. And then the next step was to go into YouTube and find a video.
Yep.
Okay. Oops. All right. And then what was that? I think that's after that is where I missed it.
So then at the bottom of your video, there should be a share button.
Oh boy. Okay. I'm not seeing. Oh, there we go. Okay.
And then the first share circle says embed. It's a white circle with like 2 gray carrots.
Okay.
You'll see there's the embed video code on the right-hand side.
Okay.
All you need to do is click the copy in the lower right-hand corner.
Okay.
And then you go back to your page and paste it into that blank box.
Okay. Thank you.
And then when you click done, it should show the video. Yes, Laura?
Are you able to change what the thumbnail is for that?
So the thumbnail, I think, is decided by the person like at YouTube.
Okay.
So I guess maybe if you start the video at a later time, it might change the thumbnail. Well, for this, maybe not,
Yeah,
because it's
yeah.
probably the same background.
Yeah.
But you also have that ability to start a video at a later time. So if like the beginning is not relevant, you can
That's
start
good.
it a little bit later.
Okay.
But yeah, I think thumbnails are controlled by the person that uploaded it to YouTube.
Thank you.
Any other questions, guys? Does anyone else use other things like would you want to know how to embed the Facebook feed? Or are we okay? I know that's not relevant to a lot of people.
Actually, I would.
Okay. So Facebook has their own code. I'm going to put it in the chat for you so you can save it. And I'll try to remember to include it in the post-training email. Let me write this down real quick. So this is the link that Facebook provides. And then it asks you to put in the URL of your site. So let's see if you guys have it at the bottom here. Social media. Oh, it's at the top. Whoops. So you can put in your social media URL. And then it should show you a preview. There's like little check marks that'll allow you to choose different options of how you want it to show. And then when you're happy with the way it looks, you click the blue button that says Get Code. It's in the lower left corner.
How did you get here?
I dropped the link in the chat, in the Zoom chat for you. This is a link that Facebook provides. So it's like a developers.facebook.com/docs/plugin. So I just put it in the chat. It's easier. And I'll put it in your post-training email too.
Perfect. Thanks.
Once you have it, make sure that you're taking the code that says iframe, not the one that says JavaScript. Okay, it's going to default to say JavaScript. You have to click on the one that says iframe and grab this die. So you'd copy this and then do the same thing that we did with the YouTube video where we clicked and we pasted into our custom HTML box. And then it's going to show your Facebook feed. All right. Any questions on that?
Well, thank you.
All right. Yeah, awesome. I'm going to go ahead and click save on this. And I believe it is time for lunch for you guys. Is that right? Is it noon there?
I do have one more quick question.
Oh,
I had
okay,
originally named my page with just Marlene instead of Marlene's page.
Mhm.
And I was able to change it, it looks like, on the page itself, but the what do you call breadcrumb
Mhm.
still says Marlene, not Marlene's. Is there some way to fix that as well?
Yeah, so the reason that's happening is because it's not a published page.
Okay.
If you hit save and publish, it would update it.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, you can because it's under the hidden section, but
yeah, it's okay. I just wanted to see what
it's literally because it's a draft. Normally, once you change it here, it updates automatically.
Okay, Perfect.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Awesome. All right. How are you guys feeling? Good? Okay? Too much information? Just enough?
I think it was good for the, basic step, basic training one.
Okay. Awesome.
For myself at least.
Good to
I
hear.
can start doing the software on it.
All right. I see lots of thumbs ups. Thanks, guys. All right. So, I guess either Thursday morning or Thursday afternoon, you guys are back?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes,
And
thank you.
then on Friday, I'll send out the post-training email with all the info because it's recorded. My recordings take a little while to like save and load, so it'll probably be Friday by the time the Thursday one finishes. So expect a message from me Friday, probably at a really ridiculously early time for you because I'm in Eastern time. So I apologize in advance that you'll probably get an email at like 5 in the morning.
Okay. Well, thank you.
All right. You guys are welcome. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Thank you, Abigail.
Thanks. Mhm.
Bye.
Bye.